Hello again, my little conscripts, and welcome to another Mordian Glory video. In today's episode, we shall be doing another deep dive of a 10th edition Imperial Guard datasheet. This time, we will be casting our ever-critical eye over the Cadian shock troops. I really like these guys. In the index, they kind of got overshadowed, but it's a new day, it's a new dawn, it's a new guard meta, and I think the Cadians have got a lot to offer. And so, without further ado, let's Cadia stands! Get right into this thing. As is tradition, let's start off with a cheeky gander at the stat line. What we have got here is the quintessential guardsman profile. What has been pretty much the same thing for 20 or 30 years. 6-inch movement, toughness 3, 5 up save, 1 wound, leisure 7, and objective control of 2. 6-inch move isn't much to write home about. I mean, it's not quite as fast as Eldar, who are sprinting around at 7 inches. It's not quite as trudging and slow as Votan at 5 inches, although I have heard they are great at sprinting over short distances. It's fine. What you want to bear in mind, though, is that almost any of these stats can be boosted thanks to various orders. And one of the orders you really want to keep in mind for your guardsman is move, which can improve this from a 6-inch move to a 9-inch move. That's a 50% increase. That gets your guardsman going. And the job of infantry, we should just say this now to get it out there. The job of your infantry is to get on objectives, to screen out, to buy time and die for your tanks to get the job done. And that's what this profile is pretty good at doing. 6-inch move, plus 3 for move, that's good for screening and getting objectives. OC2, that's great for dominating on primary. I mean, even just 3 of these guys, unsupported by command squads, and we'll be talking about combos later on in this video, can still sneak away objectives from less dense OC elite infantry. The one thing we're going to have to address, though, is the durability, or lack thereof. Even if you do give them take cover, they're going to die in droves. Your guardsmen are going to die in droves. You're going to need a lot of them. If you're thinking like 10 or 20 Cadians is going to be enough, nah. You want to be thinking in terms of 60, 80, 100 infantry, because you're probably going to lose nearly every single one of them by the end of the game. But if they can just buy you time, if you bring enough just raw wounds, then hopefully it'll give your tanks time to do the damage, and your elites like Scions do the secondaries. So guardsmen, their stat line is unimpressive, but don't think of them in 1s and 2s. Think of them in blobs of 20 and armies of hundreds. So keeping all of that in mind, let's take a look at unit composition. How can we take these squads? So you can take them as either 10-man squads or 20-man squads. If you're going to be mounting them up in transports, you probably want to go for a 10-man squad. If they're going to be exclusively used as glue for officers, you probably want to go for a 10-man squad. But for any other situation, you want to be going for 20-man blobs. Why? Because they're gonna die in droves. So you need big squads to make sure that you've got big wounds so you can absorb casualties. Quick side note, some of you may be wondering what I meant by using this as glue for officers. I'm referring to this paragraph here. This unit, no matter what size it is, whether it's a 10 or 20, can have 2 leaders attached to it. It's one of the unique things about Guard battle line infantry. This means you can have a command squad attached, and you could also have, well, in the case of Cadians, Creed or a Castellan or the Lord Solar attached. There's reasons you would want to do that, and I did mention this in the Cadian command squad review, so I won't deep dive it here, but basically you could have a command squad attached to a 10-man squad and then have Creed attached to the 10-man squad as well, and that would allow Creed to use the command squad's Master Vox so that she can do orders up to 24 inches away. If you want full details on how all of that works, I do recommend you check out my Cadian command squad review. But let's get back to the topic at hand and let's focus on those 20-man blobs. I'm a big fan of the 20 blobs, so we're going to be looking at this unit through that lens going forward. Now, each sergeant comes with a las pistol and chainsword, and each trooper comes equipped with a las gun. That's rubbish. We don't want to be running around with our stock equipment. We want to be getting those war gear options going. And good news, everyone, because unlike the Kriegers, this data sheet is actually laid out in a way that human beings can understand it. For every 10 models in this unit, up to 2 shock troopers can each have their las gun replaced with one of the following: a flamer, a grenade launcher, a melt gun, or a plasma gun. And you've got a little asterisk here that says you cannot select the same weapon more than once per unit unless it contains 20 models, in which case you can't select the same weapon more than twice per unit. What that means is if you are taking a 10-man squad, you can take 2 special weapons, but you can only choose like 1 flame and 1 grenade launcher, or 1 melt gun and 1 plasma gun. You couldn't double up and say take 2 flamers. However, if you're taking a 20-man blob, you can start doubling up. So you could take double plasma and double melter gun, or double plasma and double grenade launcher. But in a 20-man squad, you couldn't take like all of them with plasma. You couldn't take like 4 plasma gun guys. Okay. We've also got the ability to take 1 Voxcaster per 10 men. And you might as well do that because it is free, and Voxcasters aren't too bad. We'll look at what they do in a little bit. And then we've also got the Sergeant. Now, he comes with las pistol and chainsword. Like I said, that's rubbish. We want to get rid of that. Unlike Kriegers, though, we don't have access to power weapons and plasma pistols, which is a bit of a big rip. You can swap your las pistol out for a bolt pistol and keep your chainsword, or you can swap your las pistol and your chainsword out and go for the Sergeant's auto gun and 1 close combat weapon. It's actually a drum-fed auto gun. It's really, really cool. Honestly, the Sergeant loadout doesn't matter hugely. 1 strength 4 shot is okay, but I'd probably go for the Sergeant's auto gun just because it basically means you get 2 las gun shots at longer range. Neither one's much to write home about. And if you prefer the look of bolt pistol and chainsword, or even las pistol and chainsword over the autogun, then that's absolutely fine. Normally I am really prescriptive about you definitely have to take the plasma pistol, you definitely have to take the power sword. Honestly, when it comes to Cadian Sergeants, take whatever the hell you want, because in the grand scheme of things, a couple of extra low strength shots aren't going to make a difference. Now, if you're a new player and you are a little overwhelmed by this information, then don't panic. If you're not sure what to build your guys with, I'll tell you my recommended loadout for a 10-man squad of Cadians and a 20-man squad of Cadians. So on a 10-man squad, I would go with 1 man with the melter gun, 1 man with the plasma gun, 1 man with the Voxcaster, and 1 sergeant with an auto gun. That will leave you with 6 guys left over who you can just give las guns. If you're going for a 20-man squad, then I would go for 2 guys with melter guns, 2 guys with plasma guns, 2 guys with Voxcasters, 2 sergeants with auto guns. That's a total of 8 special guys, and then you have the remaining 12 with las guns. If you're curious why I picked plasma gun and melter gun, it's because they're just, in my opinion, the better special weapons. The plasma gun has got fantastic AP-3 and also gets some really good volume of fire within 12 inches as well. And the melter gun is just generally very, very punchy. AP-4 and the potential to do 6 damage or even 8 damage if you get kind of lucky. Plasma and melter, whenever I get the opportunity to take those, I always do. However, I do want to do a shout out, because the grenade launcher is definitely not a bad third option. And if you are thinking of going for the grenade launcher, then I would recommend going for plasma guns and grenade launchers together, because they pair quite nicely because they've both got the 24-inch range. But plasma and melter should be a go-to. Plasma and grenades, a good second choice. So that just about covers the stat lines and the weapons. But what about the abilities? I mean, every 40k unit has some datasheet abilities, and they can radically change how a unit works. Well, for the Cadians, they get sticky objectives. Well, specifically, it's shock troops. But how it works is if you are at the end of your command phase, if this unit is within range of an objective marker you control, that objective marker remains under your control, even if you have no models within range of it until your opponent controls it at the start or end of any turn. So that means if you move a unit onto an objective, or they start on an objective, they can deploy on it if it's on your deployment zone, then even if you then move off it afterwards, it stays under your control. Sticky objectives can be a really, really valuable ability. It means that even if your opponent blows you off an objective at range, they have to physically get over there, start taking that primary point off you. I do find sticky objectives to be less useful within the Guard. And the reason for that is because we're often not short of units to sit on objectives. I mean, we're going to have artillery holding our home objective, and then we're just going to be pushing waves of infantry and tanks onto the middle objectives. Sticky is very valuable in other armies. In the Guard, frankly, I consider it a nice to have. This is, I would say, the only weak part of the datasheet. We've also got the wargear ability of the Voxcaster. A couple of things to note. Firstly, this is very different to the Master Vox that you see in command squads. So this does not extend your order range in any way, shape, or form. All right. Second thing is that you need to have the Voxcaster in the unit to benefit from its ability. Now you might be thinking, but of course I'm going to have the Voxcaster. It's a free upgrade. Why wouldn't I? Well, if the Voxcaster guy dies during the game, that's when you could lose the Voxcaster ability. How does it work? Each time you target the bear's unit with a stratagem, roll 1d6, adding 1 to the result if there are 1 or more friendly officer models within 6 inches. On a 5+, you gain 1 CP. So if there is no officer, it's a 5+. If there is an officer, it's a 4+. That's quite nice. It's a good way to farm CP within the game. You are going to be spaffing stratagems out left, right, and centre. And being able for those stratagems to, if they're 2 CP, essentially only cost 1, or if they're 1 CP to essentially be free, is decent. Voxcasters used to be completely useless and overlooked because everyone was taking the Lord Solar in their list, and he gives you an extra CP, and you can't generate more than 1 within a battle round. So you couldn't get his free 1 and then get them from Voxcasters as well. But now, that's still true, by the way, but you can only ever get 1 extra CP a turn outside of the 1 you generate at the beginning of each turn. Now the Lord Solar is a lot less popular, Voxcasters have become a lot more relevant. If you're a veteran player, don't forget to roll for your Voxcasters. I know it's a habit that we've not really had to keep up until this point, but it's time to start embracing the Voxcasters. That covers everything on the Cadian datasheet, but we've got a little bit more we need to talk about. Because looking at these guys in isolation, you may not be very impressed. But you have to remember this is the Guard, where we combine units together to make them punch well above their weight. And I think Cadians, even more so than Death Corps of Krieg and Catchans, have the ability to power up well beyond what their basic datasheet might show. Cadians, supported by a Castellan and a command squad, become a very interesting unit. Firstly, you're going to get more firepower. This unit in a 20-man squad size is going to have 2 melter guns, and it's going to have 2 plasma guns and a whole lot of las guns. You add a Castellan in there, that's an extra plasma pistol. You add a Cadian command squad in there, that can be up to an additional plasma pistol and 2 more plasma guns. So suddenly, we're not looking at 4 special weapons. We count plasma pistols as a special weapon as well. We're actually looking at 8. And then we start getting a bit of close combat potential as well. Because the Cadian Castellan can have a power fist, the Cadian commander of the platoon command squad can have a power fist, and there is potential for us to get another power fist in there as well. Although we would have to give it one of the plasma guns, but let's not get bogged down by the details about that. So suddenly this unit's got a bit of firepower, it's also got a bit of close combat potential. Command squads will also allow you to regrow D3 casualties a turn, so you can't go above your starting size. But if you've taken 5 or 6 casualties, the medibag is going to start allowing you to add D3 models back in per turn. Suddenly, this unit starts regrowing. That means it can start threatening objectives again. It can start bringing back people who have died from failed hazardous checks. It just means that until you wipe it out, it's always going to be a threat. You've also got the fact that this squad would then, thanks to the regimental standard, be OC3. So you can completely dominate on primary game, even with just scraplets and shattered survivors from platoons. So Cadian shock troops often get looked over because people see the shiny Kriegers. But when you start adding in layers of force multipliers, I think that Cadian shock troops can not only compete with the Death Corps Krieg, I think they can actually beat them. Because you're going to have sustained hits as well from the Cadian Castellan, which Krieg don't have. And you're going to have fall back and shoot. Which means that no matter what your opponent does, these guys are still going to be laying rounds downrange. And then we've got to factor in the different detachments that these guys could benefit from. I really, really like Cadians inside the recon detachment, for example. Because again, combine the Cadian command squad with the Cadian shock troops with the recon detachment. Cadian command squad gives these guys the benefit of cover when they're on an objective. If you're in the recon detachment, if you have the benefit of cover, then you also get an additional +1 to your save. So that means you could be out in the open without the take cover order, but just because you're in the recon attachment, you're on a 3-up save. If you then have the take cover order, it essentially, and I'm going to be doing a deep dive on this tactic, so I will explain it in more later on in a different video. But essentially, it means you get 3-up save with armor contempt built in against shooting. Which is very, very strong. Or, if you don't need take cover, you could be on a 3-up save and have take aim. So you can get the durability without compromising your firepower. I really like Cadians this codex. I thought in the index, they were a bit of a waste. I think in the codex, they are subtly a very, very strong contender in the Guard Infantry Corps. At least that's what I think. But of course, all of this is just like my opinion, man. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Do you think that Cadians have got what it takes to run with the big boys? Or is Krieg still the go-to battle line choice? If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to smash that like button and also subscribe to never miss an episode. Would you like to know more? If so, then please consider becoming a channel member or patron. By supporting the channel, not only will you be doing your part, but you'll also be helping me create more content for your viewing pleasure and unlocking a whole host of perks. You get everything from a badge next to your name, custom emojis, but the big one is access to the Mordian Glory Discord server, an online community with almost 2,500 active members. It's always popping off in the MG Discord. We've got channels for army lists, hobbying, tactics, stories, and even a pretty spicy meme section as well. For all you greenhorns that wanted to see the Mordian glory hole, today is your lucky day. And joking aside, I do want to say a massive thank you to all of the current channel members and patrons. You guys are amazing. Truly the lifeblood of the channel. I could not do Mordian Glory full-time without the incredible and generous support of my members. So thank you guys so much. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal thank you to all of my top tier Patreons. These are the War Masters, the people who have truly gone above and beyond the call of duty. So a heartfelt thank you to Alex Dengal, Bonbon Vert, Lord Pryor, Mark Panconi, RJ Scorpion, Swordfish Trombone, Try Again Bragg, John Stubbs, Nick Walsh, Diesel Fox, and August Barney. Seriously guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your support is incredible and it makes a huge difference. Thank you so much. That's all for now. Hope you've all enjoyed today's video, and of course, as always, see you guys next time.